Previously on OATHSWORN.
They're not cradling a body, but an instrument. A bowed, stringed thing that looks as old as the haggard bodies of the catechumen themselves.
Azar genuinely cares. Like, that's not a thing that I'm interested in exploring, is like, ooh, what if he was really shitty? Like, I think the more interesting thing is that he had, like, a shitty goal in his life, but he genuinely cares for all the members of the Legion and wants them to survive.
Captain Abuna Lance of the Consonant Legion, give me your hand.
Aoife being like, I need my eyes more than you do, and Azar saying, I agree.
Oh, yo!
That's sick.
Look, if we can get him OATHSWORN to the Legion and mean it, that would resolve a lot of people's worries, I think.
Marshall, if you think that you can bring him in, you have my blessing.
Do we want to, like, mix campaign actions and scenes? Or do we want to do...
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. Quartermaster.
Hello.
You have 2 free campaign actions.
Sure do. I think one of them's got to be some R&R. Got a bunch of hurt people, some more seriously than others.
Yeah.
But, so R&R says instruct the marshal to mark 1 healing tick for all characters. We got a bunch of people with some stress.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, there's still enough stress that clearing some stress would be worthwhile. And then we can get back up to 10 morale. Good lord. But then also I wanted to, I think I'll probably recruit first. Cause let me read the recruit action. Yeah, the war has left soldiers crawling home and mercenaries guarding villages and roads or raiding them. You recruit these recluses, rejects, and returning warriors to serve in the Legion's ranks. Gain up to 5 rookies for the marshal to replenish the squads with. Due to limited supplies and support staff, the Legion cannot have more than 6 squads in this campaign. But the boosted version of this is that 2 of those rookies are soldiers instead.
Whoa.
Uh-huh.
It's quite a boost.
Yeah, and we have...
That's a powerful boost.
It's a good boost. And we have a lot of supply, and we can only move with 3. So I am considering just doing that. It would take us down to 5 supply. I still have 2 more before we're at our max for moving on from this place.
Nice. I've got a pitch for you there.
Wait. Is it the Sarkot militia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to suggest.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. Captain Newt and Noah could come on board as soldiers. So yeah, is that just like heading into Sarpot, telling people like, hey, the end is coming. we are leaving.
Yeah,
soon.
the Legion is leaving this place. If you
Also, if you stay here, you'll probably die.
Yeah.
I wonder how much you gotta say that, right? People gotta know that, right? Or no?
No, so I think everybody in the Legion at least knows.
Oh, okay. Ooh, yeah.
I don't know how much we spread that. Could this be Kayo actually reaching out?
Yeah, I was thinking that Kayo might, just because they also know the Sarpot militia people, like specifically by name. personally.
Right.
Yeah, and maybe Newt knows, like, oh, I've got these rookies. I can bring them.
Yeah, I wonder if Kayo even goes, yeah, like, rather than just, like, going around Sarpot being like, anybody want to come with, right? Just, like, go specifically to Captain Newt. It's just like,
Yeah.
look, we're leaving, but there's space if you and Noah, and if you have a few more who want to come with us. You know, we've got space in the Legion. You know, you know your way around shit.
I think, yeah, they'd be like, pretty much, like, I think a little bit of time has passed, obviously, since Ramta, and it's become increasingly clear that they need to go.
Yeah.
The people that are going to be hunkered down here have decided to hunker down. Yeah, so let's make a note of that for the Marshal to add them to the sheets.
That means there's 4 soldiers in the Legion now, right?
Yeah.
We could reallocate them into a single squad if we wanted.
Ooh.
Dang.
Ooh, like an elite
Get
squad.
an extra +1D.
Yeah. With Rahel to fill it out once she gets there.
She's 1 XP away. Soon.
Oh yeah, we got a huge XP dump on that last one.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Gavin, did you want to do that Rahel scene? Or maybe related to Rahel, but maybe not necessarily explicitly there.
I think I'm actually more interested in Lance not getting a prosthetic kind of scene.
Yeah, let's jump ahead quickly to updating Alchemist's Mercies and projects. So, as we've seen, we have one alchemist who I don't think is assigned to a task just yet.
I kind of suggested he was working on something though.
I did, yeah. There's definitely a suggestion of one.
But that also, I like that there's a difference there between, like, he's working on something and has been assigned to something.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so, you know, just to address it out loud, Lance gave up a hand in order to take back the Beacon of Aegon. And Gavin specifically said that independent of whatever we've done with Aoife or what we do with anyone else, he'd like that Lance does not get a prosthetic. Gavin, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I wanted to draw a line through giving Lance a prosthetic because, one, there isn't a special ability that gives people new hands, new chosen hands.
It seems like, you know, that is part of the cost of what it is that we've signed on for here.
Yeah,
And
so it's also like it's part of the sacrifice of that devil's bargain, and it's also, I think it's a more pro-disability story if it's like Lance loses an arm or loses a hand and has to learn what it's like to live without a hand.
Sure.
I would want to be careful there to not be suggesting that people who do have prosthetics are like less
No,
representative of disabled people.
no, I'm just thinking about how.
But yeah, I think Gavin is gesturing more that prosthetics are not 100% the solution
For sure.
Yeah, like
to limb loss.
prosthetics are a choice, and that is different for every person. That they're not, always a good solution, and that they're people with disabilities who don't have that option, and since it's not a special ability for Lance to take, I don't think in this war situation, like if we want to put it in lore terms, Lance has that option, even if it does exist technologically.
Would he be opposed to holding his shield or getting a modification to his shield that like wasn't something attached to his body?
No, I think he gets a modification to his shield, for sure. I'm not going to make him remove his shield as part of that Devil's Bargain too.
Yeah, for better or for worse, I wind up, particularly in a certain category of games, wind up doing a lot of this kind of character change on screen.
Like cyberpunk stuff?
Well, not necessarily. I mean more so like to, as a clumsy shorthand, but a shorthand nonetheless for representing the cost of violence in games where you can generally heal level 2 harm. You know what I mean? And so, but at the same time, I am always keen for that not to be representative as a net negative for a player character in the same way that it is not a net negative for someone who is either born that way or comes to be that way over the course of their normal life. And so I want to make it clear that, like, in inflicting that, I want it to be a narratively interesting thing for Lance to have to grapple with, but it's not like, well, now Lance always has to roll -1d whenever using the shield or something like that. Yeah. It is, regardless of the condition of this world, this is a world that respects that differently bodied people need different accommodations, and that accommodation is almost always personal and unique. But there is no question or pushback against that accommodation. And that accommodation may be a limb, or it might be something completely different.
Like, we already have a character who has a prosthetic, and we have that disability story here already. So this is our chance for us to tell another disability story where, they don't have that access.
Yeah.
How do folks feel about this?
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems fine.
Yeah.
And I think on the the sort of the other side of that, I think Aoife's like very proud of her prosthetic.
Yeah, 100%. It should be, but not in a comparative way, obviously.
Yeah.
Cool. So mechanically, in which case we have 2 members of the Legion, at least, with level 2 harm. Lance and Rahel. What is Rahel's level 2 harm?
I believe it's twisted. She twisted her ankle.
Right.
Yeah.
From the twisted mind of Rahel.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
Lord. Yeah, but it says every Legionnaire may mark a tick in any harm row. Once a row's healing ticks are full, you erase both the ticks and all injuries in that row. You may employ a mercy to take on injuries from a character, provided the mercy isn't currently wounded. So I think I would like to have Freedom help with Lance's amputation, just to make sure that doesn't get infected, because that could get real bad.
Absolutely. This is really interesting because mercies take on the injury of another character.
That's true.
Have we seen Freedom on screen?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When Aoife got her eye.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if this is almost like a reverse phantom limb kind of thing, where Freedom's hand is there, but they lose use of it, at least until this clears.
Absolutely. That's great. It goes ever so slightly grayer. Like it's desaturated just so.
Yeah.
So is this giving an extra tick to Lance or an extra tick to Rahel?
To Lance.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
That clears Lance, right?
Yeah, clears Lance.
Cool.
Depending on what upcoming missions look like, Rahel might, have a crutch or something. Otherwise, it's just sitting down with ice.
Ice heals twists. Everybody knows this.
Mm-hmm.
You get twisted, put some ice on that.
Ah, that's brisk, baby.
That would probably be Suleiman's answer to that.
Oh, this is a bit. Oh, this is what a bit is.
God damn it.
The giveaway is when I chortle at my own joke. Okay.
So yeah, those are our two
Those are our
free
free
actions
ones?
anyway.
Okay. Do we want to do some stuff inside the command tent, as it were? There's some scenes we want to see there.
I definitely want to get to a oath swearing ceremony since we have so many new people, and also Nikolaj could be
I
somebody
feel like
being swearing an oath.
that almost feels like it could follow on from Kyle's
The
sermon,
fireside
right?
talk.
Yeah. Like this is what you're being indoctrinated into.
Oh, it's the onboarding ceremony.
Check
New
this out.
employee orientation.
Check this out. Here's a bunch of dead people, and then also here's a story.
Yeah.
Welcome to orientation week.
Yeah.
Ooh,
like
yeah.
Newt and Noah are there to swear their oaths. And who else is there? And are there conversations that we have to have ahead of that? I know
I think
there
the main
was-
conversation about ahead of that would be: do we let Nikolaj become?
I don't know if it's a
Oathsworn or
let.
not.
I think it has to be a. Can Nikolaj be convinced to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he
Who has that conversation?
Well, Marshall is there because swearing an oath to the Legion is kind of his whole thing.
Is Marshall the one that's going to try and compel or convince? Or is someone else there to try and make that pitch?
That might have to be. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so as a reminder, just in case people have forgotten, this came from one of our very first command level conversations where everybody weighed in on the problem of Nikolaj. What do we do with this funny eyes of smoke guy who may or may not be a traitor of some sort? And Marshall had made a suggestion of maybe Nikolaj could become oathsworn to the Legion. And I think that
Kale had suggested it too.
I specifically remember that Kale was very much there's multiple different stories here that that Nikolaj should be allowed to do whatever Nikolaj wants, that sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Kale was very much not let's all get one big story. It's just the one unified the Legion story, which was Azar's sort of perspective on things.
Yes, that makes sense.
Kale's
So-
against the wikiification of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what the annals is, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, you're right.
Yeah.
Damn.
Legion fan wiki.
Legions are a massive
It is the Legion
contradictions.
fan wiki.
This is all to say, I think that, maybe after the sort of tense conversation that Marshall and Azar had last week, I think that Azar might have encouraged Marshall to actually make an attempt at convincing Nikolaj to join the Legion.
Yeah, okay.
What do you think the condition of Nikolaj has been? He's been not made a prisoner, but not been given VIP status either, right?
Oh, he's not a prisoner in the sense that
The way that we sort of were talking about it in the Discord is at least my pitch for this, which is that from everyone is telling Nikolaj with words that he is being escorted by the Legion, that he's being protected, that he's being asked to stay in his tent for his protection. Given that the Never clearly already grabbed him once, we want to make sure that doesn't happen again. With their actions, everyone is indicating to Nikolaj that he is a prisoner, and that if he attempts to run, there will be consequences.
and that if he leaves his tent, the people guarding the tent aren't going to protect him from the Legionnaires who want to hurt him.
I don't think that's being said, but that is being said.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So Marshall is there, it sounds like. Does anyone especially want to play Nikolaj? I'm happy to do it.
I feel like you should.
Okay. So yeah, Augur Nikolaj has his own tent. As a reminder, he's sort of he's Illiander, older, kind of scuffed up, probably a little less withered than when he first arrived in the tent. or in the camp. He's less emaciated, but no less paranoid. It's clear he's not sleeping well. Marshall, how do you arrive?
I bring him his lunch.
Oh.
Usually some rookie has to do it, but this time I do it.
Okay.
And I've got my lunch there too.
I think he stands up in a hurry once you walk in. Like, not quite standing at attention, but very clearly like, oh, I'm supposed to stand up when you're here. I think you caught him in the middle of changing. I think he's like stripped to the waist.
Incredible.
Marshall just puts the trays down and sits in the one chair.
Excuse me. Like, quickly tosses on like a tunic. Is that that's mine? Is that mine?
Yeah. Holds the tray out to him.
Takes it, looks at Marshall. Thank you. Sits down on the bed, sets the tray down next to him on the bed.
How long have you been here now? A few weeks? Marshall knows exactly how long he's been here, but wants him to say.
Few weeks, something like that.
I can see that you've sublimated some understanding of the way we do things here. That's good. I appreciate that.
Doesn't seem like an environment that's well suited to standing out.
Exactly. Not everyone in the camp needs to conform, as it were, but it certainly puts the Legion at ease when we're around our own.
I know the feeling.
Say, the Eyes of Smoke, how attached are you to that organization?
Gulps.
Is it a religion? Or out of character, is it a religion?
I think we've called it a religion, yeah.
Okay.
One of the religions.
Okay.
One of the few that is not explicitly attached to a chosen or a god. Or it is attached to a god, but that god has not spoken or chosen in quite a long time. I think Nikolaj takes a deep breath and looks squarely at the marshal and says, well, insofar as most of the people that I knew at the Omniculum are no longer with us, I would say that my ties are quite bare at the moment. If and when I ever return to the capital, perhaps I'll reevaluate that.
How about you reevaluate it right now?
I'd be...
See, I have a proposition.
I am...
Something that'll put the whole Legion at ease. I'm interrupting you on purpose. This is how the Marshal is doing it.
What's good for the Legion is good for me.
I'd like you to join the Legion.
I'm not much of a fighter.
You will
Captain.
be. I'm sure there's many posts that could suit your talents. We'll put you through training that every rookie goes through.
Nikolaj stares like at the ground and like starts to say like 2 or 3 different things. Are all of the Legion's recruits brought in under such duress, Marshal? Is that why you have
and the Marshal
rookies?
like leans in, sets his fork down loudly. Only the ones that led to the deaths of thousands of Legionnaires.
Is that why you have rookies trying to give supplies over to bandits, Marshal?
I should have known that you would know things.
Or doing errands for recruited alchemists? I, angrily picks up a piece of hardtack and, shoves it in his mouth. And I am your prisoner, Marshal, but I'm not your slave.
You'd be given a fair wage. You'd be given access to everything that the rest of the Legion has access to. You'd be treated like one of us. You would be one of us.
Thus freeing me of your abuses, your intimidation.
And protecting you from the justice that many of my soldiers would like to take from you. Forgiveness is justice too, remember.
I'll look to the gods for whatever forgiveness I'm due.
I'm sure we could bring in the lore master and have tales of many stories of people who had harmed the Legion and come to be one of its most storied heroes. That could be you.
I've done you nor the Legion no injury, no slight. I have nothing but gratitude for the fact that the Legion freed me from a week imperiled by the Never. I don't understand what harm, what grotesquerie you feel that the Legion as a whole supposedly feels to me particularly, that I am meant to. And I think looks finally again at the Marshal and says, I'll tell you what, Marshal. I will gladly join your rank, but you know as well as I that I will last a precious short time with a spear in my hands. Take me on as I have been trained, as an augur. Put me to work knowing what I know, with materials that you salvaged. Let me serve the Legion that way.
And the Marshal gives just the slightest smirk, like he had been giving the bad choice so that Nikolaj would come to this conclusion on his own. Yes, I think that will work perfectly. What you have to understand before we get you sworn in, it doesn't matter if you in specific were the one that orchestrated the disaster of the Consonant Pact. It matters if people think you did. That's why I recommended we swear you into the Legion. Being sworn in may seem like just words. You have to prove that you're a part of us. We'll be watching you.
Give me a sway.
Really? I think I've been thinking about this, and I think the Marshal has a 3 in sway.
I think you're right.
Love to break the rules of the game.
This means we can actually give Cravander stress boxes. There's precedent now.
In my imagination, Cravander is nothing but stress boxes.
The first 2 advances, hardened, both of them.
Yeah.
Still somehow constantly at 9 stress.
It's a 6.
Sure.
Nikolaj pales, his gumption sort of given out, and is like, of course. I take my oaths seriously, Marshal.
Good. Claps his hands, has finished his dinner. Just it says something like, the swearing ceremony is tonight at the bonfire. We'll make sure you're escorted safely.
Okay. We can add Nikolaj to the Legion.
I was gonna ask if you could be like a laborer, maybe. Would that make sense?
I have a specific idea in mind, as a matter of fact.
Ooh.
And that is...
Like, he's basically an alchemist, just not active. He's a...
I mean,
No.
he doesn't heal corruption, though.
He's a specialist. He's a specialist with a rank in weave.
Oh, interesting.
Do you want to read weave for us on page 304? Just the first paragraph.
When you use weave, you invoke arcane powers to change the world around you. Doing so is not without cost and should always be considered extremely risky. Weave is not a specialist action for any playbook in this book. It is the purview of alchemists and mercies and others that have bound themselves to the divine. Of weave use will allow you to identify if something is an artifact or to detect divine presence. Weave is an exceptionally rare skill and should not be introduced lightly into your campaign. It represents a deep connection with a divine being, usually after having sacrificed something of yourself. That very connection is what allows a weaver to recognize the other sources of mystic power.
Dang.
I'm happy to hear pushback, but I think that's an interesting way to introduce him.
I think it sounds cool.
Agreed.
Yeah.
What specialists were we thinking that they were? That he was?
At the end of this explanation, it says, make your own playbook for the specialist.
Yeah, I think he's an augur.
Cool. I love it.
Yo.
Cool. Quartermaster. You're going to spend supply on additional downtime actions.
Yeah. I think one's going to be a liberty. 'Cause we got
Yes,
a
please.
bunch of people with stress. We could get 2 more morale, be back at 10.
How many stress do we heal?
You get 3 back.
Okay.
So that brings us down to 4 supply. Are we going to move this downtime? It feels like we are. There's been a lot of we got to leave.
Yeah, we're probably going to move.
Okay, so then I should get us down to 3, since that is our mostness anyway. Do we want to give Suleiman something to do so that he doesn't just decide what he's doing again?
Yeah.
Because also we have there's also the beacon, which is new, and what does it do? What do we use it for?
Do we have to do a downtime or a long-term project to identify it, or is that something we get?
I think you go about that in many ways. It depends on who you put it in front of.
Ooh.
I believe that when we got it, Brendan had said that we would need to do a long-term project to actually figure
I
out how to
probably
use
did
it.
say that, yeah.
But I think that you did basically give us the rundown on it, and I assumed that was in fiction. So I think we know what it is, but not what to do with it yet.
Yeah, what to do with it, or how to use it, if that's a thing that can be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it seems we should figure out what the heck this thing does. Okay, pick a specialist to lead a project. Oh, should we put Nikolaj on that?
Yeah, probably.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, pick a specialist to lead the project. They roll the appropriate action and mark segments on the clock based on the result. Can never remember where it says this, but there is something about any laborers you have who can help with long-term projects, just add an extra tick.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the labor we have is Mal, and she was like a blacksmith, right?
Yeah.
But this is the god of like craftsmanship, right?
It is.
So
That's
Mal-
true.
Entirely makes sense.
Yeah. And like specifically that was a forge, so
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, 100%.
so like
yeah.
Mal, I could imagine knowing a lot about Aegon probably.
Does Nabain is all about like not just chosen but like funerary rites and stuff like that, right? Like
Yeah, so he's been pretty bummed.
Oh, buddy.
But yeah, I think he's not making a big deal about it, but like, you know, I think that he's been a little bit down in the dumps. I mean, the supply mission went okay, but that was also kind of a bummer for different reasons. But he's definitely, you know, going to go check on Rahel and you know, because all twisted up and basically, you know, try to get a little bit of detail out of this rookie, you know, as they're doing, you know, as he's doing a checkup, you know, just making idle chat about the funeral situations of a chosen, very normal stuff.
I think while you're in the middle of that, I think Nikolaj comes in to ask for your help.
Yes, of course. How can I help you, augur?
There's obviously scant records, but I thought that another set of eyes poring over things would expedite the process.
Do you have it with you?
No, I bet he's not allowed to carry it around.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so. Another set of eyes on what? I'm sorry.
We have a certain amount of records to do with chosen of yesteryear. Simply, they are typically included with practically all Eyes of Smoke archives, just as a point of reference, almost an encyclopedia in case you need to cross-reference something. It's easier than having footnotes in every single document.
I've described Nabain because he is Kaimorti, and they tend to have various different sort of weird features from various chosen throughout the ages. And I've described Nabain as having like droopy ears like a dog. And I think that his ears do the thing that dog's ears do in terms of like going up. But just for a moment, otherwise entirely straight face, and he says, yes, I think that I could help with that.
Splendid. When you're available.
Oh, I'm available now.
Right this way.
Oh man, Rahel just like still like ankle twisted in this bed. It's just like, oh, would I be able to see those as well? And they're just like gone.
Yeah. I think this is a relatively short project, to be honest. I think this is a 4-step clock.
Dope. Okay, so we are rolling Nikolaj's. What is an appropriate thing?
It's probably research, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has no stats yet, so.
I bet he has 2 in research. Does that sound right, Gavin?
Nikolaj probably has 2 in research. And
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, probably sway.
Yeah, certainly research, and probably Nabain is helping, right?
If that's an option, yeah. I mean, I don't know if it mechanically does anything, but narratively, yes.
I forget, because I play lots of different Forge in the Dark games.
What? You?
This doesn't say anything about other, or at least in the quartermaster bit. Where's the campaign phase? Have things here.
Because the PCs don't really make the long-term project checks.
No, a specialist does.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing.
Okay.
Part of me is like, oh, well, letting another specialist help might be a dangerous precedent. On the other hand, stress is an even more precious commodity, so I'm kind of okay with people spending it.
Yeah, and that if you're okay with it, I will happily take another stress for Nabain.
Yeah, that feels appropriate to me.
Okay.
So yeah, take another die for Nabain helping out.
Okay. And then we should be able to add another tick to this based on Mal's help too.
Right. So it starts, as far as I'm concerned, with 1 tick, and then you're going to roll. It sounds like 3d6.
It is 3d6. currently. Yeah, I'm just putting a tick for Mal, and then what? Oh, jeez.
That's a 1, 2, 3.
Good,
So,
great.
That only gets you 1 tick.
Yep.
However, you could upgrade the result by 1 level by boosting it, and you could do that multiple times.
That's true.
So if you had supply to burn,
this already brings us down to 3 supply, though. Okay, all right. I don't know how do people.
Uh-huh.
I like having
What size
3
is the clock?
supply.
It's a 4-step clock, so
So we could just revisit it next time, right?
yeah,
it's not worth 2.
I don't want to spend 2 supply or
The cheaper thing to do would be to just spend the 1 more supply. Well, I mean, you can't do this, right? Because you can't do long-term actions more than once, right?
You can, but I would have to work on a different project, but we don't have another one. Yeah, you can work on long-term you can do more than 1 long-term project action, but you can't work on the same project more than once per damn time.
So it's not like Blaze in the Dark where you can roll again.
No.
So you're not going to spend any more, and it's going to be 2 out of 4 for this long-term project this time around?
Do we learn something new about it, though?
Sure, absolutely. This is... whatever it is that this does, it does something in the hands of Chosen.
Cool.
Baller.
Does Serikali ever get to go on missions with us?
Sometimes.
Ooh.
In the first mission, remember?
Yeah.
If I had spent an intel for a secret mission, there's a very real possibility she would have come with.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a bunch of those. Speaking of Chosen, does Azar wind up talking to Serikali sometime around here?
Yeah, he does. Where do you think that Serikali's mostly been posted up? A general question. It could be Brendan answering that. It could be anybody.
I
Yeah,
feel
what is the life of a Chosen like?
Yeah, part of me very deliberately wants to stay away from showing like Serikali's quarters.
No, I don't think it's there.
Yeah. I feel like in the RPG where you try to go find Serikali while you're at base, she is at the command table, like looking at the map of Zelsha'el. Which I think is probably like a separate room from like Commander Azar's office, so to speak.
In that case, maybe Azar specifically sends an invite. I think there's a hill overlooking the camp. And I think that Azar walks up the hill twice a day to just overlook the camp. This is one of the few times that he takes a step away from his desk. I think he walks the camp as well on regular, well, not regular, probably irregular occasion, just to put the fear of God into people, so to speak.
Sure.
But I think that he sends a rookie with a note to invite Serikali to join him for his sort of morning walk.
Yeah, and there's no response, but she is there waiting when you leave the tent.
So when I first sort of pitched Serikali to you all, I wrote the following. Staring into her eyes compels one to speak only what her god considers truth, even truths unknown to the speaker consciously. Whenever Azar and Serikali have been on screen, I've been very careful to describe Azar never looking into her eyes. And I don't think that he looks into her eyes now, but I just want that to be on the top of people's mind. I think that he goes through like the exchanging pleasantries sort of like script that he has for dignitaries, which is probably something like, I thank you very much, Whip of the Senate, for joining me today. I hope you have been well in this time since our last meeting.
As well as can be. I sense our time in Sarpot is soon running out.
Yes. I had asked you here today for that very reason. I think at this point, I don't think he'd actually started speaking until they were a distance away already. And at this point, I think they're nearing the top of the hill, and he sort of pauses until they reach the top. And he overlooks the camp. And he looks east. And he looks north. And then he looks at Serikali. And he says, honestly, Chosen, I came to you today for your advice. There is a split in the path ahead of us. The northern path, from my understanding, is a hard one, both for us and for our enemies. The eastern path takes us by communities, people, with all the benefits and dangers that would suggest. Where would your God have us go?
I see the paths laid ahead of us as you do. I see the voice and the never surging behind us, threatening to engulf us. If I knew what would beat back the tide, what weapon I could draw to stand against the surge of darkness, I would have drawn it weeks ago. I know that to the north lies a hard path, that the realm of the Tailos will not be an easy path, but that there is the promise, no, not the promise, the hope of great reward, of things forgotten even in the time of the Empire, that may aid us yet. In the east, there is, she sighs and looks at Sarpat. There's this, but more. More people, more panic, more worry, more distrust, more betrayal. People who rightfully will look to us, will ask, will plead, will demand our help. And we will say no. The gods are better at hard decisions than we are, than even I am.
This is not the answer that Azar was hoping for.
Serikali knows.
Yeah, I know she knows. I know that he knows. That
you
she
know
knows.
that we know.
And he says, is it so wrong to offer a temporary justice? Even if that is all we can answer.
Serikali looks at you in the eyes. And I think it's before now, or it's only now, that you realize that she had been avoiding your eyes too. And you realize not merely how strong and how unyielding she is, but also how old she is. And she says, all justice is temporary. And I think she sits down. I think she just sits down looking out at the city.
Azar pauses for a moment. I think he takes a step back, and I think that the camera sees, again, him hold something in his pocket and look at the unprotected back of Serikali. And then he turns back towards the camp and walks down the hill.
Bruh.
Cool.
This is also funny because Kayo, just told the story of how Serikali, fucking murked his, great grandfather or something.
Uh-huh. Cool. Where are we at on campaign actions?
I think that's going to be it.
Quartermaster, you got supply to burn.
No, I'm at 3. We can travel with 3.
You can.
Listen,
do we need anything?
Listen, Cravander just got all the crates back where they're supposed to be. He's keeping it that way for a bit.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't think there are any other campaign actions that need to happen right now. At most, I could see acquiring assets, but...
Are there any other scenes that we want to have here before we proceed?
I don't think it's really a scene, but I think Aoife is very happy to see Kayo come back alive.
Oh yeah.
Worried about being put in combat with other folks going into that last mission, and they had been on several missions together and been through this shit together. So she was glad to see them survive. Kris, if it's cool with you, I'm imagining Aoife and Kayo like in the crowd during the like sermon, like passing back and forth like a flagon or something, and just getting hyped at all the cool parts of the story.
Nice.
I think Lark goes to do their cool secret handshake with Lance and then can't do it.
The all talk, no talk.
Yeah.
On it with the other hand. We'll get there.
It involves both hands.
Damn.
So now we got to do it with the stump. It's okay. We can recalibrate.
Lark signing furiously. It's okay. We can recalibrate. Commander, decide if the Legion will advance.
Yeah, we're advancing.
Okay.
Do we want to do the swearing in ceremony?
I think we decided that's what part of the story was, right? Or did we want to have something separate to that afterwards?
Yeah. I wasn't sure if we wanted to like frame that as a scene or not. It could just have happened.
Yeah, I don't really have anything additional beyond what we've said.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I was gonna suggest that like Serikali says something to the new people, but we got some good Serikali content.
I don't know. Does Commander let her?
Yeah, I feel
she's
like
not part of the Legion.
Yeah, she is also technically not oathsworn to the Legion.
Yup.
Uh-huh.
Which is a problem if she ever comes on a mission.
Yeah. We could get her oathsworn.
Oh, boy.
You sure about that? After this last scene?
Yeah.
I think we might have to have her kill Azar first.
I had her swear an oath in that story.
Sure.
But that was more
Yeah,
of a,
That was then.
She's seen how that worked out for her.
Yeah.
Damn.
That was a different Legion.
yeah. And a much nicer commander.
Commander, we are at our first fork in the road. Which way are we going?
We go east.
We go east to the Well of Icario, past the plains and into the desert. Quartermaster, to choose whether or not we will spend horses to reduce pressure.
Overseas. But we
wouldn't worry
have
about
those. No?
We're going to be rolling 2d6. We only need 2 ticks to fill up time slot 1. I don't think there's a world where we're not going to finish this first time clock.
I don't recall how the time thing. We were trying to roll low on it though, right?
Yup.
I mean, if you think it's not worth it, then sure. I'll hang on to these horses.
Let's make sure we're making this decision because this is a big one.
True.
yeah.
So
This is to like change the season, right?
it's more change the difficulty level.
Yeah. I thought the book described it as changing seasons.
It's like changing TV seasons, certainly.
Yeah.
Like this is, yeah.
I mean, that would be a good
This
end
is-
of season 1, I think. That last combo.
Yeah.
We'll see. Anyway, so the way that it works is we roll die equal to pressure. So in this case, it will be 2. And we will tick a number of ticks according to the typical like long-term project rules. So if it's a 1 to 3 is the highest, that's 1 die. If it's a 4 to 5, that's 2. If it's 6, it's 3. If it's critical, that's 5 ticks.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's bad. We can go over. We can spill over into the next time clock thing. We can reduce time as we've already done once, but we cannot. Once a time clock is filled of our 3, we cannot go back. It cannot ever become unfilled. So we would just hit this point where, unless I roll, the highest is a 3 or a 1 to a 3, we're gonna enter sort of the time clock 2.
Act
Probably a
2.
better way to say that.
It's Act 2.
Yeah, Devin was right. It says, when a time clock fills up the world and the seasons change.
Yeah.
The weather shifts towards cold, the leaves turn colors, the last summer rains before fall days with a hint of a nasty winter to come. The never grow in power, gaining an ability every time a time clock fills up.
Yep.
If you ever run completely out of time, the game is lost and the Legion is disbanded or killed.
Eek.
We're making okay time so far, honestly.
So what you're saying is there's a non-zero chance that it won't fill up, but it's really low probability?
Exactly. So if Kris spends a horse, spends one of our 2 remaining horses,
it'll go down to 1.
1 die, right?
Which increases our odds and removes a crit from the possibilities.
Exactly. But even if I crit, right? Like we're just 3 ticks into time clock 2. We're already, if we look at this, right, the path to get to our eventual destination that we know we're actually going to is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 total steps. This will be step 3, so we're like a third of the way through. The timing is pretty good. I just don't think it's worth it when you only have 2 horses left.
All right. I will literally hold our horses.
Hold your horses. Commander, roll pressure and use the results to increase time.
All right, everybody, blowing these dice. We're in for 2 1s. Snake eyes. That's a 6.
That's a 6.
Why do our good rolls happen to bad people?
You know.
Can we switch that project roll with this?
So, with that, 2 ticks in time clock 1, thus completing it, and 1 tick in time clock 2.
Everyone give me just a brief scene of something we see as the Legion leaves Sarpat and heads east into the desert.
Fires, smoke on the western horizon.
If there are like any hills or elevated places, or if it gets into lower ground towards the water, I guess we get to see this sea or ocean to the east as opposed to the river to the west that we're leaving from.
Yeah, pretty far off, but yeah.
Yeah.
Gemma and Penthos shared a tent, and we see Gemma going through a chest that belonged to Penthos and gathering a few things of his, since he won't be able to take the chest, but can at least take something.
What's one thing in particular?
Let's bring it back around. Penthos had a little carved statue of an eagle.
Aw.
As the Legion gets to the like area where it starts to become desert, Aoife is sort of scouting with her eye, and she sees one of those like massive shadow giants that she saw earlier. But this one is like half buried in the sand.
When you see that one enormous smoke thing in the dune, it lifts its head and looks back at you.
Do they make like direct eye contact?
Yeah, I think so.
I think she tries to be brave and stares at it back and starts to draw it.
Cool. To the south and to the west, we see sickly overgrowth with ruin the ever-rotting at its core, determined to bring new life, new creations into the world, no matter what the cost. Further west, we see Whisper, the Myriad, waiting for just the right moment. At his side, a witch wearing a gorgeous, finely made cloak. And further west, still, the voice of the dead god, intent on eliminating harmony, consonance, all others' song from the world, in favor of theirs. Oathsworn is an actual play podcast created by
Devin Nelson,
Gavin Fregeau,
Kris Allison,
Matthew Guzdial,
and me, Brendan McLeod. All music for the show is created by Devin Nelson. Find it and more at devindecibel.bandcamp.com. Find a link to their music and any of the games that we've played in the podcast description. Follow us at Oathsworn Pod on Twitter or Oathsworn on co-host. Until next time.